Welcome to the Saturday preview show. I'm Kerry, joined here with Tam and Ruffy as usual. Let's start with the big one on Sunday then, Tam. Rangers take on Celtic, the first derby of the season. Rangers come out of this game, come out off the back of a hard European defeat. How are they going into this one?
I think it's going to be an open game for both clubs. I think that Michael Beale had a big week. He's not got off to a good start. It was a bit of a hammer against PSV. We got into the Celtic game a bit to prove. Celtic have not started the season particularly well either. I think they will have a couple of new players in the door. So, listen, it's a very open game. It's hard to call. I think home advantage for Rangers could prove to be crucial. But I'm going to sit in the fence here. It's hard to really, give a definite opinion in this game because both teams have been poor so far. So, I think there'll be goals in it. So I'm going to go for 2 each. Can
you remember a game previously that both haven't went into it particularly strong and there's not been an outright favourite, or would you say there is one here?
Not for a long time. I think Celtic have obviously dominated this fixture in recent times, and they've always went into the game as favourites. I think obviously Rangers won towards the back end of last season, but it was a bit of a dead rubber. Celtic already won the league, so the bookies are finding it hard to split them. I think they're very, very even in the betting, so I think it's going to be a draw.
Okay. Ruffy, Celtic haven't won a game in 3 weeks. Will an early goal for Celtic upset Ibrox? Will it create a bit of worry around the stadium?
Of course it will, but obviously it's up to them to do that. I think the both of us would be a wee bit easier if we knew what the two teams were.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right saying that now, but team selection will be a big part. Obviously Rangers will have to recover from midweek. It depends on how many new players Celtic throw into this game. I'm a wee bit like Tam, home advantage. I think Rangers will win this. I don't think Celtic are playing particularly well. I'm going to go Rangers to win 2-1.
2-1. Well, it's a good point you make there. There is loads of new players. Between the two, Tam, around 10 new players that haven't played in this fixture before. When you debuted in your first derby back in the day, what was the advice given to you from the managers and the experienced players?
My advice from John Hughes, it was my first derby game, was at Tynecastle. I was only 18 I think, or 19, and I was thrown into the last game, and Big Yogi said to me, if you hide out here, don't you worry about the fans slotting you, I'm going to batter you when you come in here. So I wasn't allowed to hide. I had to go out and show for the ball. Listen, I was so nervous going out. Listen, it's obviously different with Celtic Rangers game, it's a lot bigger, but the Hearts Hibs game at Tynecastle was a big game for me as well. So it's very difficult. I think the first 15-20 minutes the game just passed me by. It was 100 mile an hour. I just kept getting, tackled, and it was just one of those games. I think it's obviously similar but on a bigger scale. Celtic Rangers, so it's a very difficult game I think to throw new players in that haven't experienced it. We spoke to Neil Lennon and Lee McCulloch. I heard them speaking about it last week. They said the game was just 100 miles an hour. It passed them by their first game and they were pretty experienced. So no, it's going to be a big occasion for whoever steps into the teams for Celtic Rangers. But these are the games that make or break you. If you're a Celtic Rangers player and you make your debut and you play well, you score. All of a sudden you're on side with the fans, and it can go the other way if you have a nightmare. So it's a big game for both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so you're saying draw and the Rangers win? 2 each.
I'm going to 2-1 Rangers, but I would be a wee bit more comfortable if I knew what the team line was.
Yeah, right, okay, let's get back to today then. We've got Livingston and St Mirren. Stephen Robinson's side could go top of the table with a win. They were unlucky not to make it 3-3 last weekend against Aberdeen. They'll fancy their chances today?
Yes, they will. I think that obviously Livingston, great result last week against Hibs. St Mirren, Stephen Robinson has obviously been linked with the Hibs job.
Yes.
I think if he keeps winning games, he's going to stay at the centre of attention for that job. This is a really difficult one for me to call as well. I think Livingston are strong at home. It's going to be a scrappy game on that AstroTurf. St Mirren are dogged as well. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game. I was contemplating going for a 0-0, but I hate picking 0-0 because one goal kills you, so I'm going to go for 1 each.
1 each, Ruffy. David Martin was always linked with any managerial vacancies in the country. What is it about him, the way he sets up his teams? What is it you like?
I just think everybody likes how honest he is. Before the game and after the game, he tells you the way it is. And I think we all understand because we've all been in the game before. He doesn't simply bluff you with anything, he just tells you. So I think the players would respond to that kind of manager, and I think that's what happens. They've got the pool of players they've got. There's no big stars on that side. They just want to go out and win for him and for themselves, obviously. So I think that's the benefit that they get for them. I can't split these two at all. I think Livingston will obviously be buzzing getting the result last week against Hibs. So I'm going to go 1 each.
1 each, same then, right, okay. Kilmarnock and Ross County. Tam, didn't we kind of say the 2 goals against Motherwell last weekend were very much preventable? Agree? Fair comment?
Yes, I think that once Kilmarnock go 1-0 up in the first half, you think they're going to maybe just shut up shop and see the game out, which would have been a great result. Motherwell, fair play to them, kept going and got the goal at death.
Yep.
I think Derek will be disappointed, obviously, with the goals they lost, because they've been watertight this season. I think that's the first 2 goals they've lost. You know, they've played the Old Firm and Hearts, so no, I was disappointed, but it's a great opportunity for them to bounce back. Ross County don't travel particularly well. I think Kilmarnock beat them last season as well. At home, I would fancy Kilmarnock to get back on track immediately and to win this game. So I'm going to go for 2-0 to Kilmarnock.
2-0 Kilmarnock. Ross County, I was going to call you Ruffy. Ross County do have a lot of threats going forward, as you were saying last week. Can you see a lot of goals in this game then?
Not a lot of goals, but I think Motherwell will win this one.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry, Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock will win this one. I do think their home form is good. Still got to prove it to me away from home. I think last week was a perfect example. You know, the away run they had last year. So I'm going to go for Kilmarnock to win 2-1. 2-1,
right, okay. So Johnstone will take on Dundee. You called a Dundee win last weekend. Forced to be reckoned with?
Yes, but didn't call a St Johnstone draw at Celtic Park.
No.
So this is... you know, both teams going into this game in the high, obviously. St Johnstone, wonderful result last week at Celtic Park. I think that suited St Johnstone. You know, the onus will be on them on Saturday to come out and win the game against Dundee. You know, it's a different game entirely. Dundee, I think Dundee have got a lot of good players in their team. They've got a lot of energy, a lot of young players. They're hungry, they've just come up. I don't think they've got a great record at St Johnstone. I remember being at Dundee and for a couple of seasons and struggled. I think the record at Perth was poor. Right. Which seems to be a regular occurrence for any club I played with, but...
Are you going for?
This is a tough one for me to call as well. I'm going to sit in the fence again. I hate going for draws. It's just boring, but I can't really call it. I think it'll be a close game, 1 each. 1 each.
Roughly. St Johnstone took a point at Celtic, as we're saying. Does that give them confidence that they didn't get 3 or 4 put past them?
Yeah, I think so. I think the managers went out and brought in 2 or 3 players from down south. You know, I think that was evident and made a difference. They're a wee bit more organised. I was going to sit in the fence in this one as well, but this is a game I'm going to stick my neck out here, and I'm going to go St Johnstone to win 2-1.
Oh wow, right, okay. Well, back to Sunday then. We've got Hearts and Motherwell. Tam, European hangover for the Jambos, or is it a case of get out of your mind, let's focus on today?
I think it's going to be a European hangover. I watched the game last night, Thursday night, and they got hammered. Yeah. And it was a tough. It looked at that pitch. Supposedly that pitch is the biggest pitch in Europe. It was bigger than Nou Camp. So
fair enough.
And it was 80-90 degrees. Travel coming back. Motherwell's fit, rested. I'm going to go for an upset here. I'm going to go for Motherwell to win this game. I haven't been particularly impressed with Hearts at the minute. I think they'll be better once this week's out the road. I think once they're playing 1 game a week, I think they'll be better. But I think Motherwell are capable of going to Hearts and winning, so I'm going to go for 2-1 to Motherwell. 2-1
Motherwell. Ruffy, other managers have commented on the fact that Motherwell, Stuart Kettlewell, he's got that side playing very organised. Is that something that you feel teams struggle with when they come up against them? Because everyone knows their job, everyone knows what to do.
Yeah, I think they're a wee bit like Livingston. They've not got any big superstars now that the Van Veen left. You know, they're all fighting for each other. And enjoying the win when it comes along. You know, I'm going to be the opposite for Tam. I get what Tam's saying about the travelling and getting hammered 4-0 and all that, but I'm going to stick with Hearts. I just think Hearts are better than Motherwell, and I'm going to go Hearts to win 2-1.
2-1, right. Finally, we've got Aberdeen and Hibernian. Hibs on the search for their 4th manager, Tam, since December 2021. Is that a worrying stat for you?
It's a shocking stat. It's embarrassing, to be honest. I think that, you know, we speak about the Hibs job being a big job and managers, you know, would want that job. I think if you're an experienced manager looking at that job now, and you think you wouldn't touch it, it's simply because the owners have just, as soon as the fans get on the manager's back, as soon as the team hits a bad run, they just want the manager out. It's a tough place to coach and to play at times, Hibs. Obviously they've not got a manager yet. David Gray, they went down to Village on the week there and it was just a dead rubber. It was just a day out for the fans. Aberdeen, watched them the other night, missed so many chances. Yeah. But I think Aberdeen will beat Hibs. I very, very rarely go against Hibs here on this show, but I think Aberdeen will beat Hibs. I'm going to go for 2-1.
2-1, Ruffy. Other than Neil Lennon, because he is the red hot favourite as we know, who would you like to see in that role?
Well, obviously St Mirren manager has done everything right everywhere he's went. He seems to fit, you know, the Hibs role. You know, he knows what the league's about. He knows all the players that are playing in it, and he's done so well with St Mirren. If you were going to pinch somebody for our league, it would be him for me. But we'll have to wait and see, because there'll be more and more names getting thrown into the hat as we speak. So I'm like Tam. I think Aberdeen created enough chances the other night to take a few of them. I still think the Hibs defence is woeful.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Aberdeen to win 2-0.
2-0. Right then, brings us to our favourite part. Quiz draw last week. That's what we played for.
Was I?
Draw, yeah.
That was a
No tiebreaker. Right, you ready? Know the rules. What was the score the last time Celtic and Rangers met?
3-0.
Correct. That was the game you were talking about, Ibrox.
That was.
1-0, Ruffy, right. Who scored for Rangers in Eindhoven on Wednesday night?
Tavernier.
I see looked at these
Look,
answers,
I
Kerry.
didn't.
One player scored.
There's no way he usually gets these this quickly.
didn't
So he's at
show him.
somebody's at the wind up here.
Right, this you need this one. You ready? Handle it.
Win all the time.
Right, Celtic were drawn in a group with Atletico Madrid, Lazio, and which Dutch sides?
Feyenoord.
Correct. 2-1. Right, okay, here we go. Who was the Livingston manager before David Martindale?
Hold on. For David Martindale.
Before David
Kenny Miller.
Martindale. Wrong.
Oh, I got him. It was because he brought me in to help him. Oh, I can't get it. Hold on.
Look at it.
On a time scale.
Get 10 seconds.
I can't get it.
Gary Holt.
Oh, it's so was.
Right. This is for the draw if you get it, and for the win if you get it. Right, ready?
Is there a tie break?
No.
No.
No tie break.
Crap.
Well, be better.
Why would you want a draw?
One at the
Draws.
start. Right, final question. What was the final aggregate score between Hibs and Aston Villa?
8-0.
Correct.
Put your teeth in.
Another draw. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time after the international break with some more Premiership action. We'll see you then.